Overcoming of habits. Work out your own salvation. Character building is one of the greatest goals in life. Character is the only thing we can take with us when we exit this life. This is perfectly true, therefore the object of all religion, mental training and development should be the building of character. A religion that does not build up character is worthless. Those who think that they can glide through life, avoid, as far as possible, its discipline, make no effort to improve their character, and through believing in a certain creed can miraculously become perfect, simply by dying, are deceiving themselves. We do not become perfect, building a strong and perfect character, either by believing in a creed or through dying, but by the successful result brought about by hard work. God helps those who help themselves, and those people who will not strive after better things cut themselves off from all the glorious and wonderful possibilities of achievement. Before, however, thinking about such lofty things as entering the path of attainment, and becoming changed into, and modeled after the divine image, the average person may wish to know how to overcome bad habits and weaknesses of character which are keeping them down in life, and, possibly, undermining their health. Most people are conscious of some wrong habits that need to be overcome, and weaknesses of character which should be eliminated. Possibly they have fought against their habits or weaknesses for years, prayed until they are tired of praying, made numerous attempts at turning over a new leaf, yet all ineffective, for they are as firmly in the trap as ever. Many people give up the struggle and attempt to lead a sort of Jekyll-and-Hyde existence, being outwardly a Christian or righteous person, but inwardly something quite different. Yet they find no satisfaction in this dual life, for they know that they are drifting towards a depression. Yet there is a way of escape that is open to all. The Infinite One, God, has provided man with powers that are apparently unlimited. Powers which can be used either to build up the life and character or to destroy them. These powers are those of the subconscious mind. This mind is a reservoir of unlimited, tireless forces, and becomes, if we use it aright, our best friend, or, if we misuse it, our worst enemy. Every time a bad or negative action is continued, changes take place in the nervous system, and energy becomes stored up in certain cells, so as to make it easier to do the wrong act on a future occasion. It is equally true that every time a good action is done, similar changes, but in a reverse or positive direction, take place, that make the doing of the same action easier in the future. This explains the tremendous power of habit. Our body, brain and nervous system become changed, either for the negative or the positive, according to the type of action indulged in. We do not yet fully realize what a wonderful adventure life is. We are entrusted with tremendous powers, and by their use or misuse we can either destroy ourselves or build up our character in every possible direction. What a responsibility, yet what a glorious opportunity. In order, however, to find a way of escape from evil habits and weaknesses of character, we must go deeper than actual deeds, for actions are effects of hidden causes. The cause of all action is thought. A thought is an action in the process of being born. It is true that we possess primitive desires and impulses, but these can be transformed into great actions and high achievements simply by directing the thoughts and attention to higher and better things. The strain of modern life is filling our psychiatric hospitals, yet there are those who can work 12 or more hours a day and thrive on it, although engaged in severely trying brain work. These have learned to adjust their lower powers into higher powers. This is not done by means of deep or secret practices, but by obeying the godly injunction to set our affections on things above. In other words, to keep our thoughts and attention fixed upon higher and better aims, ambitions and pursuits. It is impossible to overcome bad habits by fighting them, for the more we fight them the stronger they become. The injunction to resist not evil is very appropriate to habit. The way of escape is not by fighting evil or bad habits, no matter what its character may be, but by concentrating upon building good habits that shall cut the ground from under the feet of the bad one, or by turning the attention to higher and better things. Whatever we fix our attention upon, or whatever it is that we idealize, our subconscious mind attempts to actualize and make real in our life. By fighting a habit we direct subconscious attention to it, and this is fatal. If, however, we turn our whole attention to something entirely different and which is higher and better, all the powers of the subconscious are directed towards the production, in the life and body, of the new object of attention. We see, therefore, that we do not have to overcome habit. If we did, our task would be hopeless, for the human will is helpless before the power of the subconscious mind. The subconscious powers can be led by the imagination, but they cannot be forced by the will. The will must be used not to fight the habit, but in raising and directing the attention to something higher and better. By this means a new habit is formed. The attention of the subconscious mind is taken away from the bad habit, and all its powers directed towards the creation of a new and better one. The subconscious does not care what the habit is. It is unconcerned as to whether it is good or bad. It is just as willing to produce a good habit as a bad one. Each of us hold our fate in our own hands. We can, by controlling our thoughts and imagination and by directing our attention to better things, focus all the powers of the subconscious on the building up of good habits, or, on the other hand, we can, by allowing our thoughts and mental pictures to dwell upon undesirable things and our attention to be directed to low or weak ideals, fall into undesirable habits. The power that produces the habits is the same in each case. It is the way in which this power is directed that is the vital and essential thing. It is very necessary to point out that right thinking and correct use of the imagination must be accompanied by corresponding right action. Many people make use of auto-suggestion and expect it to destroy their bad habits and build up better ones, but it never will, or can do so, unaided. Auto-suggestion is useless if it is not followed by constructive action. It is only advanced thinkers who can control their thoughts so that they can govern their life forces by mental means. Those less advanced, when attacked by evil or weak thoughts, must get up and do something quite different, and thus get their minds off the forbidden subject and interested in the new object of attention. It is a case of directing the desires and life forces into different channels, by controlling the thoughts and attention. Here is seen the value of true religion, for it brings fresh ideals into the life and directs the attention to higher and better things. A change must take place in the heart, the spirit of the individual before they can desire these better things. When, however, this change has taken place, the battle has only just begun, for each one has to work out his own salvation. At first, then, most people will find it necessary to do something in order to attract their attention and guide their thoughts to something quite different from the forbidden subject. Later on, however, when they become more advanced in the science of right thinking, they will be able to direct their thoughts into any desired direction. This demands constant attention. Each thought has to be carefully scrutinized before being allowed to pass the threshold of the mind. By reversing every negative or unworthy or mean-spirited thought into its opposite, a change is wrought in the brain and nervous system. The cells formerly used for wrong thinking and for the production of wrong action go out of use as new cells are brought into use for the production of right action. This stage leads to one higher still when it becomes a settled habit to reverse bad thoughts into good ones and perform right actions instead of bad or weak ones. The power of the subconscious mind, which at one time seemed so evil, produces right action more or less automatically. If those who are in the bondage of bad habits will only direct their thoughts and attention to the building up of good habits, their old weaknesses will die a natural death. It must not be thought that the victory over lifelong habits is easy. It may seem so at first, but sooner or later temptation will come with added force, which may result in a sad fall. If this should happen, it is most important that too much attention should not be paid to the incident. Instead, the beginner should pick theirself up and, making a mental note of the immediate cause of their downfall, thereby benefiting by the experience, press on again towards freedom. It is most helpful to realize that not only is the subconscious mind willing to be guided or right, if we will only persevere long enough, until persevering itself becomes a habit, but that we also have behind us all the spiritual powers of God. The Infinite One, God, sees to it that the odds are not overwhelmingly against us. Our difficulties are not insurmountable, although they may appear to be so. We can always win through if we faint not. Having looks on with sympathetic interest and rejoices with the person when he succeeds, and mourns with them when they fail. The struggle is a stiff one, for it is only by this that the seeker after God can become strong in character, but the victory can always be won. When the situation appears hopeless, let the struggling one remember that there is a way of escape somewhere, and that God, who is freedom and deliverer, will reveal it if they faint not. But remember this, the wrong desires that come into your life aren't anything new and different. Many others have faced exactly the same problems before you. And no temptation is irresistible. You can't trust God to keep the temptation from becoming so strong that you can't stand up against it, for He has promised this and will do what He says. He will show you how to escape temptation's power so that you can bear up patiently against it. 1 Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 13. If all who seek deliverance will realize that the power of God is on their side, and that they are bound to become victors if they will only keep on, keeping on, they must and will succeed. And what a joy is theirs! There is no happiness quite like that which comes to one who has fought a good fight and overcome habits and weaknesses of character. May you experience this supreme joy of overcoming. Most of the important things in the world have been accomplished by people who have kept on trying when there seemed to be no hope. Peace, make each day a successful day.